Hi, Fizzler here with a video deck tech of my Dredge deck. Now, pretty standard Dredge. I'll go through all the cards individually. And, kind of hard to move my camera, so I have to just pick them up and show you. So, first Avenue, 4 City of Brass, 4 City of Brass, 4 Cephalid Coliseum, 4 Gemstone Mine. So, these are... and then 1 Tarnished Citadel. So this is your standard mana base. We got 9 Rainbow Lands, and then our Coliseums, which, you know, well, it's a pretty standard card for Dredge. Once you hit Threshold, you can tap a blue, sack it, we have to tap it, sack it, and then you essentially get, unless they have a Stifle, you have a uncounterable draw discard outlet. So you draw 3 and you discard 3. Now they can stifle that, and they can 2-for-1 you if you try and get rid of your mind doing it. This has happened to me before, so always be prepared when playing blue decks if you're playing Dredge that they can stifle your Cephalid Coliseums. So, moving away from the mana base, well, sort of, we have 3 Lion's Eye Diamonds. Now, I only have 3, so I'm running 3. And in place of the 4th one is the Tarnished Citadel, which now you probably can't see. Which it's not the Rainbow Land of choice. You'd rather run City of Brass, but I mean, Lion's Eye Diamond's great. It can lead to a lot of turn 1, turn 2 kills. It is, you sacrifice your Lion's Eye Diamond, then you discard your hand, and then you can add 3 mana of any one color of your mana pool. So this is really synergistic with another card I'll discuss later. And the mana base for Dredge is kind of, you need Rainbow Lands because you are running every color, but mainly blue and black. Red for my build. City of Brass, the Rainbow Land of choice, just does 1 damage to you. Gives you mana of any color. Gemstone Mine next. Even though it's only got 3 uses out of it, you generally won't need to use it that much. 3 uses is generally good. You'll hardly ever have to sack it unless you're trying to flashback you're trying to hardcast a flashback of a Faithless Looting. So then next, we got the Dredgers. Pretty standard. 4 Golgari Grave Troll. Dredge 6. Sometimes he'll come back with a +1/+1 counter for each creature in your graveyard. 4 Golgari Thug. There are points where you will have to hardcast a Golgari Thug. The good thing about hardcasting him is when he does die, you can recur an Archamoeba and then dredge the Archamoeba and it will come back. Which card I'll discuss later. And then 4 Stinkweed Imps. Stinkweed Imp's actually really good against Show and Tell because he does have Death Touch. He is a 1/2 flyer, so he can chump block Gristlebrand if he wants. Which is pretty good, I hear. Gristlebrand's pretty annoying against this deck. But, you know, he dredges 5. Obviously, the king is Troll, which dredges 6. And then he can always be brought back later via Dread Return and be huge. Really big. Next we have our engines. So, 4 Bridge from Below, 4 Archamoeba, and then 3 Icarid. So, Bridge from Below, well, that one's not in English. That one's not in English. So, Bridge from Below reads, whenever a non-token creature you control is put into a graveyard from play, dies. If Bridge from Below is in your graveyard, you get a 2/2 zombie token. And then whenever a creature your opponent controls is put into a graveyard, you must exile your bridges from your graveyard. So this, with their sack outlets and our Icarids, generate tons of zombie tokens and overwhelms our opponent with zombies. And that's generally how Dredge wins. It can win through other ways, but generally you're using your Bridge from Belows. And then in Bridge from Below, we also have Narcomoeba, which works very well with Dredge. Narcomoeba is a 1 and a blue. It is a 1/1 flyer. If it goes from your library to your graveyard, you may return it to the battlefield. Now, the relevant thing is, if you dredge it, you can bring it back. So this is one of the main engines in Dredge to bring back creatures. And it's also got nice art, and it's an illusion, and it's a 1/1. I mean, sometimes you do have to beat face with an Archamoeba. Not exactly optimal, but you can do it. And then the last engine, we have 3 Icarids. 4 Bridge from Below, 4 Archamoeba. Then 3 Icarids. Icarid is at the beginning of your upkeep, you may remove a black card if he's in your graveyard. You may remove a black creature from your graveyard, from the game, other than himself. If so, you can return him. He is a 3/1 with haste, and he gets sack at the end step. So the good thing about this guy is, if your opponent has no creatures, you can recur him and then just beat with him. He'll die. He triggers your bridges, or you can use him for like for Cabal therapies or Dread returns to strip your opponent of his hand and bring back big guys. And the sideboard I'll discuss later, but of why I'm only running 3. I found 4 is actually too many. You generally don't want 4 of these guys out. Everything else I'm running is a 4 of, except the Lion's Eye Diamond and the Icarid so far. And I'm running 1 Tarnished Citadel because I don't have 4 Lion's Eye Diamond. So next we go into the Disruption, which is Cabal Therapy, Premium Deck Series 1. Nice and shiny. Love the art. Name a non-land card. Target player reveals his hand, discards all copies of that card, flashback a sack a creature. So, pretty standard discard outlet. Fuels your Dredge Engine, gets you zombie tokens, strips them of their hand. Really useful in games 2 and 3 because it strips them of graveyard hate if you can go off early, and you can get them rid of their graveyard hate if they have it in their opening hand. And it also lets you know what you're playing against early game as well. So it's a all-around really good card. Putrid Imp, also all Premium Deck Series Putrid Imps. Discard a card, he gains Flying. Threshold, he's a 2/2 that can't block. So he's just a discard outlet. You just use it. I mean, sometimes he'll feed Cabal Therapies, and he'll feed Icarids, because he's black. Because he's a black creature, he'll feed your Icarids, and he feeds Cabal Therapy because he gets sacked to it, and then he'll feed Dread Return. Just really good. And then he's a discard outlet, so you can get rid of Trolls in your starting hand. I mean, you can go starting hand of, like, Putrid Imp, and then, like, 6 Dredgers, and a land, and then draw a land, and you're fine. Sometimes. Generally, you don't want that because it's kind of slow, but he's really good. He also helps games 2 and 3 in the fact that your opponent could think they can, like, Surgical Extract your Dredgers, and then you'll just use him to get more. So, next we have cards that'll go together. 2 Dread Returns. I have never, ever hardcast a Dread Return playing Dredge. You're almost always going to sack 3 creatures. Again, it's Premium Deck Series art. You're almost always going to sack 3 creatures to bring back a guy. Generally, you're going to use it on either Golgari Grave Troll for a giant, big, scary monster. Or you'll use it on this guy, Flamekin Zealot, who, when he enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 in haste. So, you'll make a giant zombie army with a Dread Return, like 3 bridges, get 9 zombies, Flamekin Zealot, and then just go in for lethal. This is how Dredge works and wins on, like, turns 2 or 3. I mean, I've done it. It's pretty funny and pretty insane. He's just an all-around broken card in Dredge, anyway. He's not broken at all, but he's really good in Dredge. This card's broken, though. That card's insane. And now we go to our draw. So, 3 breakthrough. I'm not running 4 breakthroughs. I'm running only 3. What this is X and a blue. X is almost always 0. But it is draw 4 cards, then just choose X cards in your hand, discard the rest. So what you do this for is this gives Dredge some insane plays. Combined with Lion's Eye Diamond, you can play a breakthrough for 0. Lion's Eye Diamond in response to discard your entire hand for triple red, and then Dredge almost your entire deck. With another card I'm going to discuss. This card's really good. It allows for some really insane plays, and it's just an all-around great card. And then for Faithless Looting, which is the only card in this deck that actually has a mana cost to flashback. Unless your opponent plays a Thalia, which is bad. Thalia is really bad against this. Thalia is really good against this deck and really bad for us. So Faithless Looting is the red Careful Study. Draw 2, discard 2. Really good for Dredge. I have gotten the turn 1, play Gemstone Mine, play Lion's Eye Diamond, Faithless Looting, response, crack my entire hand, and then flashback Faithless Looting, Dredge my entire deck. This actually happened a lot when I was playing at SCG DC. It's pretty insane and kind of hilarious. It always happened game 2, but it made it so that my game 2s were so much easier because I knew my opponent, I would lose game 1 somehow, and then game 2 would just be so easy because I could strip their graveyard hate immediately out of their hand doing this. It was great, and then I'd win game 3 because I just destroyed them. And this card's just all around insane with Lion's Eye Diamond. And then the last discard outlet, Careful Study, which is just draw 2, discard 2. Generally, sometimes used to filter. Very rarely do I ever use this dredge. Generally, it's just to find my dredgers and put them in the yard. Faithless Looting is more used to dredge, but this card's good too. The thing is, once you keep your opening 7, you're almost never drawing any more cards for the rest of the game, which is dredge itself. And that's the deck. That's the main deck. I have the sideboard out too, and I'm gonna start bringing that over. So the sideboard is one more breakthrough. Again, I'm only running 3 Careful Studies and 3 breakthroughs. So everything else is a 4 of, except breakthrough is 3, Icarid's 3, Careful Studies 3, and Lion's Eye Diamond is 3 because I don't have 4 Lion's Eye Diamonds. Flamekin Zealot's 1, Dread Returns are 2, Tarnished Citadel's a 1. So the last breakthrough and Careful Study are both on the board. I have 3 Nether Shadows on the board. So they are one of the only reasons Graveyard Order actually matters in Legacy. At the beginning of your upkeep, if he's in your graveyard and he has at least 3 creature cards above him, you can return him to the battlefield. He's a 1/1 with haste. He's also 2 black. So what you do with this guy is, because you get to choose when you dredge, you get to choose the order you want to put them in. He'll almost always come back every turn, and then you sack him to Cabal Therapies, sack him to Dread Returns and other things. And he sticks around, which isn't that bad. It's not that good, but it's not that bad. So he can always jump block something like a Tarmogoyf, which is pretty good. When I board him in is usually when I expect my opponent's going to be playing Surgical Extraction, because if they Surgical Extract your Icarids and your Narcomoebas, you're sometimes just shut out of the game completely. So this guy really helps to avoid Surgical Extraction. He also allows for some really insane Game 2s, because you'll just have like 9 guys on the board, and then you'll have like a ton of Cabal Therapies, and their entire hand's gone. And you get a ton of bridge tokens, and it's great. 4th Icarid in the board. You know, just gonna run the 4th Icarid in the board. I've never actually had to board him in since I changed the deck, so I can't say whether or not I'm gonna keep him in the board. 3 Leyline of the Voids in the board, mainly for the mirror matchup, also for Reanimator and lands. Basically any graveyard deck, because there's no way I'm going to run Tormod Scripted Relic of Drantis. I have to run Leyline, and then I just keep it in my opening hand. Really good against Manaless. Have yet to actually board these in, because I don't normally face many graveyard decks with this deck. And then our Dread Return targets, we have an Elish Norn, mainly for Zoo, Affinity, any creature-based deck that I could just Dread Return this and instantly win. I usually board it in. This is happening against Zoo. I just Dread Returned this, and then I locked the Zoo player out. Even though I lost my bridges, I had enough zombie tokens just beat, and then Nether Shadows were coming back as 3/3s every turn, so really good. And Gristlebrand. 7/7 lifelink flyer, pay 7, pretty much dredge your entire deck. That's why he's in here. He can just lead to instant I win when you Dread Return him, because you'll just dredge your entire deck, and then somehow win. Well, once your entire deck's in your graveyard, you'll usually get back a Flamekin Zealot, and then just kill them. Yeah. And then the last is 4 Nature's Claims. Probably one of the best cards you can run to get rid of their graveyard hate, or Grafdigger's Cage, or other problem cards. What this card does is just destroy a target artifact or enchantment for a green at instant speed, but they gain 4 life. The 4 life is kind of irrelevant. I've actually I played one of my friends this weekend, and I got this out turn 2. I got 2 of them out actually on him. One to get rid of a Jitte and one to get rid of Grafdigger's Cage, and I still killed him with zombies. So 4 of those. Everything else is mostly 1-ofs in my board. That's my entire dredge deck, though. Pretty standard dredge. From afar, it looks kind of like this. Yeah, kind of like misshapen and whatever, but I had to move stuff over. Yep, show you a match shortly.